Hello. Have you ever wondered what goes on inside the mind of a hot girl? Have you ever wondered what it takes to make a hot girl? What it takes to be a hot girl? Is being a hot girl something you do? Or is it something you are? What can we learn from hot girl fiction? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the hot girl subgenre. I'm going to discuss some of the hot girl books that I have read and some that I have yet to read. And I'm going to discuss how you, man, woman, or non-binary, can connect with your inner hot girl today. Welcome to StoryTube. So I'm not going to keep that voice up for the whole video, but if you guys have never heard of the Library Letter YouTube channel or BookTube channel, go follow Bridger, go subscribe to Bridger. He has amazing videos in that style, and he breaks down science fiction, he breaks down children's books, he breaks down crime, he does all that kind of stuff. But that's not what I'm going to be breaking down today. I am going to be breaking down hot girl books. What are hot girl books? I don't really know, to be honest, but I'm starting to get an idea because I have read some hot girl books this year, and I have learned that I have read hot girl books in the past without really knowing what I was getting into or what they were at the time. And also, if you haven't checked out a wonderful video full of recommendations of hot girl books from Evie and Amanda, I will link their video down below. They kind of inspired this little fad or phase of mine reading some of these books. So, like I said in the intro, I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I've read, some of the ones that I've yet to read but want to read. So, sort of a brief summary of some that I've read and a little TBR as well. So I'll go through 5 specifically that I've read and 5 for the TBR for hot girl fiction. I'm going to try to do my best to explain what this subgenre is, why I find it so interesting, and why just about anybody can read it, and why especially men should read these books. Anyway, what is a hot girl book? What makes a hot girl book? It might not be what you expect. So, hot girl books are typically psychological character studies of messed up characters who happen to be women. They usually explore the dark side of femininity. Think along the lines of American Psycho or Clockwork Orange or Crime and Punishment. Books that typically might have been written by men, about the dark side of human psychology or of human nature, of sexuality. But these are written by women, about women, and are sort of what I like to call darkly feminist, that women can be a threat too. And it examines society's reactions to these characters that happen to be quite depraved or a little bit unstable. And they usually explore themes of trauma, power not necessarily in career or in politics, but sexual power, psychological power, emotional power, specifically to do with relationships or toxic relationships and dynamics in that sense. So And it's all from the female perspective. So there is a feminist slant in the sense that maybe people's reactions to a male character like this might be one of fascination or awe, but the reactions to the female counterparts or women in these books might be one of disgust or repulsion. Those are not necessarily facts or the way that you will react to these books, but these books ask those questions. Do we react in the same way to these characters as we do men? They also explore the male reaction and society's reaction to these characters within these stories. and why they maybe get away with some of the things that they get away with in these books. Sometimes these books have elements of horror or thriller, specifically psychological thriller. Some have fantastical elements. Some are sort of genre blendy or contain elements of multiple genres, and they're all laid out in front of me on the table here. So let's get into it. Let me roll up my sleeves like a man. Okay, what are we talking about first? This first book I want to mention is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. I'll get it out of the way because I've talked about it on the channel a couple of times already. But Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine is about a woman that is not completely fine. Running theme within these books. This one is probably the lightest in tone of all of the books on the table. It's quite a humorous book, and it doesn't necessarily get as depraved or as fucked up as many of the other books on this table do. But it is about a woman who is sort of bored with her day-to-day job. She works in an office doing something that we don't really... It's so boring that it's not necessarily explained to us within the book, but she's quite a reclusive person. She's a bit strange. I think it's quite obvious that she might be on the spectrum, and she is not very good at socializing, so she kind of withdraws a bit from society. That is also a running theme in a lot of these books. But with her, this book is a bit more hopeful. It is a bit more optimistic than a lot of these other books. That's why I'll start with this one and we'll get fucked up later. In this one, she learns to confront the trauma that she's locked away through the kindness that the people around her show her. And she learns to trust in other people. She learns that other people are kind, that her opinions about society might be skewed because of her past that you learn about throughout the book. And it's kind of a book about empathy and acceptance. But this woman has issues. The narrative voice in the book is so good. It's so funny, it's so unique, it's so compelling. You just can't help but love the character, and you can't help but turn the page. So Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Next up I'm going to mention is a classic crime book already, instant classic, is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This book is about a toxic relationship. And both of the main characters, one man, one woman, in this book, are just as bad as each other in their own way. But without giving any spoilers, this could make you fear for your life if you are a man. But it is about opening your eyes to the possibility of the things that happen in this book and not treating them as, well, we're not going to take this seriously because it's a woman or whatever, without giving any spoilers. So that's Gone Girl. It is a psychological crime thriller, so it is all about the twists and the turns and where this book is going. You just can't stop turning the pages, but it is a riveting read. And it is a wonderful psychological character study that really pulls the rug out from under you, which is also another common device in these books. And another one that I'll mention as well is Eileen. Somewhat similar to Eleanor Oliphant, kind of a blend of Eleanor Oliphant and Gone Girl. This one pulls the rug out from under you quite a few times. But you follow a woman working in juvenile detention center for boys, for young boys. She has strange sexual fantasies. We'll just leave it there. And an enigmatic woman, a psychologist, starts working in the prison, and she pulls her out of her shell, kind of gets her to drop her inhibitions. And it is also about her dealing with an abusive relationship with her father. She doesn't really look after herself. She's also isolated herself from society. She has stopped looking after her personal hygiene. She sees no point in sticking to general, usual social norms and conventions about human interaction, about personal hygiene. It's quite a disgusting book at times, but it is kind of about how she is ostracized from society and why that is, and why nobody pays her any attention. And it is about also the male gaze flipped. So she is herself kind of a commentary on men lusting or praying after any woman that they can find. And Eileen sort of cleverly comments on that from a female perspective. And Otessa Moshfegh is just really, really good at writing in this sort of bored, banal kind of way. If you want, I'll link my review of the book. You can go check it out. I won't go into too much detail. But Otessa Moshfegh writes existential boredom better than anyone else on this table. And I highly, highly recommend her books. And the next one that I'll talk about is My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This is probably her most famous book, her most successful book. And this one again is about existential boredom. But it is about a rich, white, hot girl in New York City in the months leading up to 9/11 who decides to take a year off doing anything to sleep. The unnamed character in My Year of Rest and Relaxation sort of willingly removes herself from society because she's bored of the onslaught of information. It's set obviously in the months leading up to 9/11, which is almost the dawn of the internet age, but it is before social media. It is before all of the constant noise that social media and the internet brings, but it's on the cusp of it. But it is also at the height of media growth, especially in the United States. So it's a very interesting commentary on where we're at even today in society and how disconnected and numb you can become with all of the horrible news that's out there, all of the just onslaught of people's opinions that you probably don't care about, but you can't help but be sucked in by. That book is an amazing bit of commentary for me on that bit of psychology, and it is done from a female perspective, from the perspective of quite a privileged white girl in New York. She is not a likable character, but it is so compellingly written and so compellingly structured. She takes a lot of drugs. It's another common theme in these books is drug use, drug abuse. And the fact that it is set in the months leading up to 9/11 makes the ending of the book a little bit more interesting. Let's just put it that way. And the last book that I'll talk about, I won't go into too much detail. I might make a separate video for it, but if you want to check our July wrap-up, I talk about this book at the end in a little bit of depth. And it is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. And this is probably my favorite of these hot girl books that I have read. It's been a long time since I've read Gone Girl, but that is one of my favorite books ever. But Boy Parts is so incisively poignant in what it's saying. It's so timely. There are so many conversations going on in the last few years about Me Too, about power in sexual relationships, psychological power in the workplace, specifically to do, obviously, with men who take advantage of helpless young women. Boy Parts completely flips that. And the main character is what I can only describe to be kind of a predator. And Eliza Clark sort of reels you in at the beginning with humor. The character isn't doing anything necessarily terrible in the first half of the book. You get invested in her as a character because she's so charismatic, she's so funny, she's so witty. She's incredibly intelligent. She says a lot of very insightful things about men in power and power in sexual relationships. And then the book just starts to pull the rug out from underneath you, and you really question your prejudices, your preconceived notions, or your assumptions about what it is you witness, or how humans approach relationships. I think what also makes it one of my favorites is just her use of language and slang. It's very similar to my own. It's set in Newcastle in the UK, so we share a lot of similarities in slang, and it's just such a compulsive read. There is a major twist in it that I just can't tell you about. It's kind of a huge part of the theme of the book that could incite a lot of discussion, but since this is non-spoilers, I'm just gonna say read it. Come back and we can discuss it later. Anyway, those are 5 of these books that I really enjoy. And now I want to mention 5 that I want to read, or 5 on the TBR, shall we say. And that is Lapvona by Otessa Moshfegh, another Otessa Moshfegh. So I have read My Year of Rest and Relaxation and Eileen, and I really liked those books. I think I liked My Year of Rest and Relaxation a little more, but Lapvona is another one that I really want to get to. Then here at the front we have Tampa by Alyssa Nudding. This one, from what I understand, has a similar theme to Boy Parts, alongside this other one that I want to read, which is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. These books here at the front I feel go together thematically, and those 2 are ones that I really want to get to. And then the last 2 that I want to read are here, and one is quite a famous book, a dark academia book, one of the originators of that subgenre, and is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And then the other one is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. A lot of these books were recommended by Evie and Amanda over in their video. Again, we'll link that down below. But that is, I think, summing up what hot girl fiction is about. I hope I have done that. If you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments what you think of them. Is hot girl fiction what you expected it to be? Is my explanation clear enough? Do you get the sense of what these books are about? Let me know down in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and yeah, go be a hot girl. Hello. Have you ever wondered what goes on inside the mind of a hot girl? This is so stupid. This is fucking stupid.